as an instalment buyer?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Rightmove account, which is just for our own use, and we share it with some of our students. We list properties on Rightmove under the deposit amount. We don't list under the full market value. If you list the property with a full market value, £150,000, you're competing with all other estate agents. But if you put a property with £7,000 deposit, and someone clicks lowest price first, our property is always first. It's like being on top of Google. Well, I listed this property in the morning, and in the afternoon I had a call from a lady saying, well, this sounds too good to be true, can you tell me more? I said, well, there was nothing to hide. £7,000, moves you in, no mortgage required, on an instalment contract, you just pay the same way like you would pay your monthly telephone bill. I said, have you got the £7,000? Yes, I do. Well, do you earn £2,200? Just enough to cover the mortgage payments. Well, the mortgage payments were about £805, so we needed quite a bit of income just to make sure that they can afford it comfortably. So yes, me and my husband are self-employed. We came into this country 5 years ago, and we've been trying to buy a house, but no one will lend us any money. And we haven't got much deposit either because we've got 2 kids and they're very expensive. So they love the fact that they could move in from a 2-bedroom flat they were renting, literally the same amount of money, but now they can own a 3-bedroom house and their kids can have 1 bedroom each. So Doug showed the property. How did the viewing go, Doug?
Well, yeah, I did. I showed the property on this occasion, and the couple turned up with their 2 young children. One was this big and one was this big. I'm not quite sure what ages that is. I don't have children myself, but I said to the youngest one, before your brother gets his bedroom, run inside and choose your bedroom, because there are 3 bedrooms, 1 each for the children, 1 for the parents. So he ran inside to choose the bedroom, and we followed him in. When we got in there, he was in the smallest bedroom, and there was a bed in there, and he was so excited to see this bed. He said, there's a bed. I said, would you like Bob to leave the bed behind for you, because he's moving out, he's selling the furniture, moving in with his sister. I don't think he needs the bed. Would you like him to leave it? So he said, do you think he would do that? I said, go and ask him. So he goes in the other room where Bob's showing the parents around the house, pulls on his coat, Bob, would you leave the bed behind? And Bob said, of course I will. So that basically sold the house, because this young boy had probably never slept in a bed before. So that sold the house, and it was as easy as that. They were the first people to look at the property. A unique opportunity for somebody who couldn't own a property, that was forced to rent. Unique opportunity to move into a house, £7,000 deposit, and pay by instalments each month until they can get down the bank and borrow the money from the bank, which is probably around about 5 years' time. So we use on average 5 years as a figure that we average our contracts over. The contract period is a lot longer than that, can be as long as 30 years, but we average our cost, our profits over a 5-year period, because on average we expect our buyers to cash out, that is to go to the bank, borrow the money from the bank, pay us off early, and their cost would reduce considerably, because of course we charge them a lot more than the bank will.
Or divorce the husband, rip him off and pay it off.
So give us the numbers on this, we've got lots to get through.
Okay, right, we had £20,000 backhand. Backhand profit means the difference between how much our buyer will owe us after 60 months and how much we owe the lender. Okay, remember, we bought this house for what Bob owed on the lender. So if he owes 125 to the lender and they owe us 145 in 5 years' time, that means we're going to have £20,000 clear back-end profit when they cash out. So the total profit from this deal was £42,000. How many of you would like this?
How much did we pay for this?
Well, £1,800 just to pay off the arrears.
And where did we get that back from?
From the deposit.
And how many tenants did we move in?
None.
How much did we pay on repairs and maintenance?
Just 0, because I didn't do the yellow signs.
So again, 0 cost, just simply babysitting the property, babysitting the mortgage payments. There are absolute thousands and thousands of people out there today that want to move away from the pain that they're in with a property, for various reasons, and there are a number of reasons that we're going to go on to, which is negative equity and negative cash flow. Let's just finish the babysits. There are 3 examples. This, funny enough, is another Bob that was a reluctant landlord. He'd been trying to sell this property again for about 11 months and was unable to obtain the price that he wanted. He wanted to walk away with some money from this property, but he didn't need the money immediately. He wanted the money, but he didn't need it immediately. So we agreed with him that we would babysit the property, babysit his mortgage payments for him, and the little bit of money that he wanted, which was £15,000, we agreed we'd pay him the £15,000, which brought the property up to the full market value. We agreed we'd pay him full market value, providing there was some flexibility around how we deliver the money. So he agreed that we could deliver him the money, but some way down the line. So we went off and found, having signed the single document, taken control on the property, haven't paid anything for it, we went off and sold it on an instalment contract.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the power of instalment contracts. When somebody is buying a property and putting only £5,000 deposit, are they paying all of the money now? No. Okay, because they're not paying all of the money now, you can charge between 5, 10, 15% over the market value. So they wouldn't mind paying over the market value. Even if we agreed to pay the full market value to Bob, we can still charge 5, 10, 15% over the market value. Because a buyer happily will pay that, knowing that they are fixing the price today, and knowing that they can move in with just 5, 6, 7, 8,000 pound deposit. Where else you can buy a house with 5,000 pound deposit? And that's why they never negotiate the price. So we never struggle to sell a house for less than what we asked for. So, two self-employed in the medical industry. The husband was a trainee doctor and the wife was a nurse. So they were earning.
The husband was a surgeon.
Yes, trainee surgeon. So he was just graduating and was going to get a job very soon. But fortunately, the wife was earning quite a good amount of money, and their income was perfect. So the monthly payments on this property was £807. So because we had a very, very cheap mortgage with Bob, remember, we agreed to pay him the full market value, and he was very happy about that. But we saw the opportunity in the low monthly payments he had. He had a very cheap mortgage with JP Morgan, and we said, okay, although we're paying him full market value, we're going to make £480 cash flow, so it's worth getting into that deal. So we took £5,000. Remember, we sold the property about 10% above the market value, took £5,000 deposit and £480 net cash flow. Over a 5-year period, that is going to give us £28,800 net cash flow, plus a £22,000 back end. That's the difference between how much we owe the lender and how much the buyer owes us in year 5 minus what we owe Bob.
Understood. How much is our profit on this?
55,800. How many of you would like that? Any of you don't like that?
So we have no tenants, so we don't pay any for voids, we don't pay any maintenance, we don't have any repairs, we don't have an assured short-hold tenancy agreement, which means that we don't have any of the associated costs or responsibilities that go with a tenant. The buyers that moved into the property pay for the insurance on the property. We arrange the insurance and the buyer pays the premiums. So we have absolutely no costs. The only thing that we have to do, or Mesud does, is that he checks the bank account to make sure that the money's coming in and the mortgage is paid.
Nowadays I get text messages from Santander every time a payment is made.
I'll show you some of those in a moment. So, free recording, we're recording this, so if anybody wants to see this recording, somebody's going to come round and give you something to write your email address and your telephone number on. So if you'd like a free recording of this presentation, please give us your details and we'll gladly send it to you free of charge.
We'll send you an email within the next couple of days so you can watch it again with the comfort of your phone.
Mesud, what's a lemon?
Oh, lemon is a property that you don't want to own. Okay, it's nice to have 70, 80, 90 properties, but if they're not making any money, what's the point of having them? If they drain your pocket and cost you money, if they're in negative equity, what's the point of having them? It looks a bit like that.
Show me that, Stu. Let's explain
This is
that.
a proper lemon. Any negative equity property you have, the house value of this property, let's say, is £100,000, but the mortgage on it is £110,000. So this property is £10,000 in negative equity. So if you had to sell this property today for £100,000, it would cost you £10,000. You had to dig £10,000 from your nice savings account to get rid of this property. Okay.
So it's negative equity. So what's the other thing?
The other one is negative cash flow. Negative cash flow is a property that the rent is less than how much it costs you to maintain that property. It could be because you could have expensive mortgage, costly service charges, high maintenance, or ground rents. Also, it could be just on the edge of being negative cash flow. I mean, Santander recently raised their standard variable rate from 4.24 to 4.74. That instantly created 70,000 negatively cash flowing properties. So if your property is not in negative cash flow at the moment, it will be, because those interest rates, they're not going to stay low forever.
There are a lot of people, a lot of investors that have cash flowing properties that are just cash flowing. If they have leasehold properties, by the time they take their ground rent and service charge into consideration, they may be making £40, £50, maybe £100 a month. When the Bank of England increased the interest rates, I say when because it's not if, it is when, by 0.25%, thousands and thousands of investors will be in negative cash flow. And they'll be putting their hand in their pocket every month and paying a subsidy on the rent. What's that look like?
A little bit like that. If you have a one-bedroom flat, it rents for £5.25, and you have a mortgage and a ground rent or service charge that costs you £6.45, you're £120 in negative cash flow. We'll show you an example exactly like that and how we turn £120 in negative cash flow to £260 in positive cash flow.
Does anybody have one of these? Does anybody have a lemon?
Yeah.
So there's three people in the audience that have lemons.
Anyone who is shy that they want to tell us about their lemon?
Morgan is from Cardiff.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now we was in Cardiff not only just a couple of weeks ago, and Cardiff Bay is full of negative equity properties. They were built in the height of the market by greedy developers, overdeveloping the area, sold off plan to investors, probably for no money down, probably for cash out the deal. Those investors are owning those properties today, even those penthouses worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, and they're having to fork out every single month a subsidy to subsidise the rent, because the rent doesn't cover the mortgage payments, including the high service charges and ground rents. Do you think there's an opportunity for investors to go out and find other investors that don't know this stuff, to say, are you in pain with your property? Are you having to subsidise your property every month? Are you in negative cash flow or negative equity? Because we have a strategy that would enable you to move away from that pain. And in many cases, people will pay us to take the property away, to take the pain away from them. So the example here is a property that I own I did own this one, I no longer own that particular one, but I bought two of these in Manchester city centre. They were such a good deal, I had £12,000 cash back off of each property. I purchased off plan, so of course I've never seen the property, I've never been to Manchester, but I had 24,000 in the bank and two bedroomed and 2 bathroomed apartments in the city centre of Manchester, on the canal.
That one was actually 1 bedroom, they lied to you.
Ah, 1 bed, okay. So there you go. But anyway, I thought I don't even need to rent the property because I've got 24,000 in the bank. But unfortunately, a few years later, I'm now in negative equity, and even worse still, serious negative cash flow. In fact, cash flow is around about £135, £140 a month negative each month on each property, with the service charge and ground rents.
Do you still have the £24,000?
I've spent it over and over again.
Really?
I've paid it back.
How does that make you feel?
Like I've been served up a lemon. And I don't know what to do with it. Like most investors, what do you do with it? You can't sell it. Nobody wants to take it away from you.
Well, if you guys are going to sell this 1 bedroom flat, I researched online, okay, I went on Rightmove. It's a quite popular development, Mere House they call it, right on the south of Keys. You know, it's a posh place, was a posh place. I researched it. There was another 1 bedroom flat for sale that was for sale for the last 8 months for £99,000, and it still wasn't sold. Guess how much mortgage this property had? Anyone wants to guess? £138,000. about £40,000 upside down. Okay? So if Doug had to sell this property today, it would cost him £40,000. There we go, and you haven't got a lemon anymore. Unfortunately, we knew the most creative and most profitable strategy in the country, installment contracts. We said, okay, Doug, you know what? Let's put it on Rightmove. You don't know what's going to happen. Somebody may like to live in a nice modern apartment in central Manchester. You never know. So we put it on Rightmove. £5,000 margin, no mortgage required. All you need to do is be able to have £5,000 savings and afford the monthly payments of £808. Right. Remember, this property was only let for £525. The mortgage on it, end-run mortgage, was £545. Because he is the landlord, he has to pay the service charge, £100. He has to pay the ground rent, £250 every year, plus maintenance, plus voids, plus letting fees. Remember, he can't let the property himself, he has to hire a letting agent every now and then. Renew contracts, gas certificates, EPCs. Wow.
Crack on.
So, a property that was about 140 in negative cash flow, we turned it to positive cash flow of 260. How? The buyer moved in and his monthly payments were £808, right? Because he's a buyer, he's not, remember, we're not selling on option, we're selling on installment contracts. Exchange of contracts. He is the buyer now. He is responsible for service charge, he is responsible for ground rent, he is responsible for any maintenance. So we don't pay that anymore. Finish. Gone. So a property that was massive negative equity, we turned it to £260 in positive cash flow. Over a 5-year period, £15,000 in profit. Total profit £20,000 including the deposit. So £40,000 negatively geared property turned into £20,000 in profits.
So we got £20,000 profits plus the £60,000 that I was in negative equity.
Well, 40.
40, sorry, so it makes 100,000, 60,000.